Actually, entrepreneurship is all about trying to create value.
Mhm.
Create value for your end consumer, your customer. Trying to create value for your team, the people that who are working with you, and then also trying to create value for the greater society and community. And unless you are ready to take bold decisions and move forward with those decisions, you are never going to be successful as an entrepreneur.
What sort of potential does the furniture industry have in Sri Lanka and abroad?
Woodworking industry is a traditional industry that has been in the country for centuries, if I may say. But unfortunately, we haven't seen much development or much innovation in the woodworking industry as a whole. People are moving away from the industry. So if their father was a carpenter, the child does not want to be a carpenter. You don't necessarily have to do the same thing, but the market has evolved and people's preferences have also evolved. So you can look at doing it in a different way. Look at how design can play a bigger role in the overall industry. Understand the market.
Welcome everyone, you're watching Conversations with Alanki. The wood-based industry is one of the oldest industries in the country, providing a livelihood to many in rural and urban areas. It is an industry which requires craftsmanship, skill, patience, and hard work. Sadly, this industry has been deteriorating in terms of quality and in terms of keeping up with international standards, requirements, and demands. So, joining me today in this conversation will be an award winning entrepreneur and the CEO and founder of Finesse Capital Ventures. Finesse is among the leading furniture designing, manufacturing, and interior design companies in Sri Lanka. Welcome, Dhanushka Fernando.
Thank you, Alanki.
So before we actually talk about the industry, tell me more about Finesse. You will be expanding the current showroom in March and you will also be moving to an online platform.
Yes, Alanki. So Finesse Capital Ventures, if I may say it, the primary goal of our company is in furniture designing and furniture manufacturing. So that's the core of our business. That's how we started the organization back in 2015. And now, with about 5 to 6 years of operation, we have moved into several other areas as well, apart from furniture designing and manufacturing. So we have moved into retailing, as you very correctly said. We are looking at launching our e-commerce platform because what we've understood is people who walk into our showroom, people who are looking at furniture to decorate their houses or their apartments, they are looking at a lot of other items as well.
Yeah.
And Sri Lanka, as you said earlier, in terms of design, in terms of innovative products, in terms of things to decorate houses or your apartment, we don't have many choices. So that is where we at Finesse saw a market gap, and that's what we are trying to fill in actually at the moment, especially through our e-commerce platform. With the pandemic, something that we noticed, people are looking at shopping online. So that market is expanding and something that will keep on expanding. There are people, say for an example, if they can't come into any of our showrooms, they can easily shop for the products that they are looking at online. So that's a big area of focus for us in 2022. As I told you, apart from furniture, we are looking at homeware, home decor products, everything basically that you need for your house or your apartment, or it can be even an office. So we are looking at making that available under Finesse. And then also another area that we are looking at heavily is actually investments, and then working with different SMEs. We are looking at strategic investments for SMEs, especially to uplift their standards as well. Something that I've noticed, people like a lot of small entrepreneurs and enterprises in Sri Lanka lacks the knowledge as well as the financial aid. So under Finesse Capital Ventures, we want to look at these enterprises and then help them the best way that we can to uplift their standards as well, and thereby for them to be partners with Finesse in supplying their products. So I can elaborate more on these things as we move along. But on a wider sense, yes, Finesse, our core is furniture designing and furniture manufacturing and supplying to houses, apartments and offices, and interior designing. And we are looking at e-commerce as a new platform for us to expand and move our products island-wide.
All right, I will touch upon entrepreneurship and how it can significantly contribute towards the economy. But before that, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the industry. What sort of potential does the furniture industry have in Sri Lanka and abroad?
Yes, so furniture industry is actually part of the bigger woodworking industry as a whole. Just like the agriculture, just like fisheries, even like plantations, plantation woodworking industry is a traditional industry that has been in the country for centuries, if I may say. But unfortunately, we haven't seen much development or much innovation in the woodworking industry as a whole. I think that's common with a lot of other industries here in Sri Lanka as well. So something that we are very keen on is to develop the industry, overall woodworking industry, and where we operate the furniture industry. So one of the prime reasons, so I come from Moratuwa. So Moratuwa is synonymous with furniture manufacturing in the country. Now, if you take a few decades back, a lot of people used to go to Moratuwa when they wanted to buy a piece of furniture. But that, of course, has changed over the years, where a lot of new furniture shops and showrooms are being opened around the country. But still, the industry has originated from Moratuwa, and we have a lot of people who are still engaged in this particular industry. Unfortunately, as I told you earlier, they haven't been receiving any sort of support or guidance from the relevant authorities as well. So what they are doing is they are basically doing the same thing that their parents or their fathers used to do in terms of techniques, in terms of manufacturing, whereas the world that has basically evolved quite a lot over the last 30 to 40 years. And in terms of raw materials, we are using wood mainly as a resource. But again, there are other alternatives as well that we can use as raw materials. In other countries, they use a lot of other materials as a substitute to wood. Chipboards and certain forms of even plastic mixed with wood, certain components that they manufacture. But unfortunately, we haven't seen that progress in our industry. And the other sad part is people are moving away from the industry. So if their father was a carpenter, the child does not want to be a carpenter. So what I tell them is, you don't necessarily have to do the same thing, but the market has evolved and people's preferences have also evolved. So you can look at doing it in a different way. Look at how design can play a bigger role in the overall industry. Understand the market trends. Understand why people want to buy what they are buying. So that knowledge needs to be transferred to the carpentry industry and the furniture industry in Moratuwa as well as any other place in the country. So things like that needs to happen, and uplifting their skills, their standards. Again, if you take the University of Katubadda, that's in Moratuwa, so they have quite a lot of programs even aiming at furniture designing. But unfortunately, people who are graduating and coming out of the university does not see Sri Lanka as a potential place to stay and give out their knowledge. They are looking at going abroad, they are looking at better opportunities simply because the market size has not expanded, as well as the carpentry, the skills level, the technology, the people who wants to, the labor. There are a lot of issues in the industry overall that has prevented us from competing with the global players in the furniture industry.
And like you said, the furniture industry hasn't really evolved in Sri Lanka. What is the reason for this?
Again, I would say primarily because of the lack of support and not having a proper plan for that industry. So again, it boils down to the government policies and decisions as a whole. And the fact that I believe personally we need to have certain industrial zones even in areas like Moratuwa, where you get a lot of skilled carpenters, but they operate in small, very small workshops. They don't have the capacity to expand even if they want to expand. And the sort of equipment that they use, it's very much outdated. They don't work with a lot of machinery. So in order to buy that, they need support from the government. At a very micro level, they need that support and assistance from the government or even with banks. And the industry overall, I've not seen, so I've been in this industry even more than a decade because it runs in my family as well. Actively, I've been involved from 2013-14. Even during that time, I haven't seen the government or the relevant authorities having a proper plan to uplift this industry and look at the industry as a way of generating even foreign income. Not only that, even supplying the local market, because importing of furniture is quite big. It was restricted for a certain extent in the recent times, but still a lot of people are, looking at getting down furniture and then fulfilling their needs, whereas certain things can be manufactured locally if we have the right type of technology and if we have the right type of equipment, and if these people are supported properly and if they are given a proper plan, and then get them to execute that particular plan. So that, I think, needs to happen. uh, if that happens, that's a good starting point for us to look at uplifting the industry as a whole.
And like you said, furniture is being imported to Sri Lanka, whereas it could actually be manufactured in Sri Lanka. But do you think currently Sri Lanka has the potential to compete with what's out there?
Well, unfortunately, currently it's very difficult, I would say. It requires, I think, a lot of support and a lot of development when it comes to the sort of products that we are putting out. So currently, I would say, unfortunately, no. But there is potential. Any industry with a proper plan up to, say, about 10 years or even 25 years, definitely we can look at fulfilling certain markets, not probably worldwide, but I would share a small example with you and an experience. So some of my friends who are in Australia, they really like the sort of products that we manufacture here in Sri Lanka. So they are looking at getting down those furniture to Australia.
Okay.
Again, when it comes to all the procedures involved and all the processes, the cost and all that, it's not really feasible for us to look at that as a continuous way of making a profit or making a business out of it at the moment. Mainly because, again, if you take, say for an example, if you take this particular chair, if you are to export it, we need to look at knocking it down, making it into little pieces so it can be assembled very fast. So those sort of things require certain types of machinery. And unfortunately, that type of machinery is expensive, and your small timers, especially people who would probably operate with, say, 5-10 people, small workshops, they don't have the capacity. And even the big players, they need some sort of assurance, I think, from the government or from the authorities that they will be supported and this industry will be looked as something that can generate potential revenue. So if we really look at that and develop, then of course, yes, we can compete, because see, furniture, again, there are two sides. One is the manufacturing part, one is the design part. So design part, I think we have human capital, we have talent, we have people that can be trained to compete with international designs. Then comes the problem of how we can manufacture these and how we can really look at foreign markets. So foreign markets needs to be opened up by the government, and then at the same time they need to work with local entrepreneurs, manufacturers, as well as designers. Even universities have programs to make sure that we are able to manufacture, design and manufacture, and then produce it, and then send it out, then export it. So if we can do that, yes, in time to come, we will attract more talent, we will attract more people, even people from abroad, to come here and develop the industry. Then hopefully 10 years down the line, we might look at, competing with foreign brands.
All right. And is this how you think the industry can be redefined and developed?
Yes, definitely. I see a lot of potential in the industry. That's one of the reasons that I am pursuing this. So it's more like a passion for me. Since I'm hailing from Morocco and I've seen these things, I've been to these places, these small workshops. I've seen the struggles that these people are going through on a daily basis. A lot of people are on debt. You won't believe. They earn quite a lot of money, but they're on debt simply because the conditions, the living conditions, everything basically contributes to the standard of the product that they are producing as well. And then, so I'm very passionate about trying to help these people, make them knowledgeable. At times, they don't even look at international designs or foreign designs when designing something. See, they completely lack that part. What they do is they keep on manufacturing the same thing that their father probably used to manufacture. What they used to manufacture 20 years down the line, they are still manufacturing. But the market has evolved, and
So there's no innovation.
there is no innovation, and there is no understanding of the market conditions and what people want. Because houses, the size of the house, your home has reduced. Earlier, the sort of bulky furniture probably you might would have needed back then is not the case right now. People are looking at more smaller, modular, more minimalistic sort of furniture. So those trends people need to really understand. For that, you need the knowledge and the education, something that the industry is lacking overall.
Moving on to entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneur and having had this journey so far, how have you been able to give back to this industry?
Yeah, so for me, actually, entrepreneurship is all about trying to create value. Create value for your end consumer, your customer, trying to create value for your team, the people that who are working with you, and then also trying to create value for the greater society and community that's involved in your production or in your journey, and overall the country, I would say. So I'm trying to really set that as the vision for myself and as well as for Finesse, how we can create value in every single thing that we do. Say for an example, if it's a consumer, we try to create value by giving them a good quality product at a reasonable price, and then keep on innovating, keep on putting out new designs out to the market so they have a bigger choice to select from. And then in terms of our service standards that we try to put across to the consumer. When it comes to the team, so I think I sort of treat them as one family. That's something that I really try to build within the organization, that culture. We are one family. If we all try to fulfill the needs of the end consumer and then the people who are working with us, that's the only way we can all survive as a team, because market conditions are very tough. There have been a lot of problems, corona, pandemic, and then on top of that, certain decisions the government is taking, raw materials pricing has gone up. But unless we stick together as a family, and if we really if we don't understand what we are as an organization, we will also find it very difficult to face these challenges. So that's how I want to create value, and that's something that I'm really proud, because there are people who have been working with the organization from the inception who are still with us. So they understand this, and they're also trying to grow with the organization. And finally, again, if you don't have the passion to what you do, if you don't have the skill as well as the capability to pursue it, definitely you will fail. There are a lot of obstacles an entrepreneur would face on a day-to-day basis, especially operating in a market like Sri Lanka.
There's always a risk involved.
There is always a risk, and there is a lot of factors to demotivate you. People are, looking at other opportunities. I would say Sri Lanka is one of the most difficult countries to do business ethically, which is something that I'm really standing for. Doing it ethically, creating value, and then providing opportunities. So that's something really hard, and you learn. There are a lot of mistakes that even I have made over so many years. You learn from them, and unless you are ready to take bold decisions and move forward with those decisions, you are never going to be successful as an entrepreneur. You will keep on failing, and that will demotivate you. So coming back to the point I said, creating value overall, and finally creating value for the communities. If we are able to uplift the standards of the people that are working with us, especially people within our communities from Moratuwa, that really brings you that happiness. That factor really motivates you and gives you the purpose to do what you do. And no matter what obstacle you might face, that is something that has really motivated me to do what I do in the best possible way, Alanki.
And it is also important that you give back to society as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you obviously made a significant contribution in terms of innovation, bearing a risk, etc. How do you plan to motivate and uplift the lives of skilled workers? Because like you said before in this conversation, more skilled workers are moving away from the industry.
So we actually now this is something that I started few years back. So we have a scheme where we identify certain people within our areas. At times with the links that I have, at times with known people, they inform that to us. So as an organization, what we try to do is we try to identify talent. That's number one.
Right.
And once we identify talent, we basically go visit them. So it can be like a small carpentry shop that's say they are producing chairs, a certain type of chair. They have the skill to produce that particular chair probably better than anyone else.
Yeah.
So that defines who they are and their capability for us. And what we try to do is we try to give them financial aid. We identify their talent and then we talk to them, and then we understand, okay, what sort of a capacity do you have? Do you really want to grow your business? Say if you're producing 5 chairs a month, do you want to go to 10 chairs or probably 15 chairs? Then we try to understand the problems these people are facing in expanding their business. Mostly it's to do with finances.
Yeah.
Right? And they can't get a loan from a bank, neither they have a property to mortgage, and very rarely they have people to get money from to expand the business. They are only looking at their business as a way to survive, to earn their
But
daily,
not to really thrive.
not to thrive, and not to even expand, because they're simply bogged down by a lot of day-to-day challenges. They need to provide for their family, they need to look after their parents, they need to look after their kids. So they're juggling multiple things, right? So first thing we try to do is understand their capability, and then we sign up with them and we provide them with financial aid. And Alanki, we actually even don't sign a bond at times, right? When we provide financial aid, it's purely based on trust. I'm very much firm on that, even though as an organization it's very hard to really provide that. And then at times there are occasions even we encounter where people are not able to pay you back, but still we want to make that as an investment, and if we make 10, probably about 7 or 8 would be successful. That's a good success rate for us. So we give them the financial aid to buy machinery. There's a particular goal. It's just like a development bank, how they would look at funding, right? So we give them a goal. Okay, within 1 year now you need to look at buying this machinery, and they do that and they expand. There are people who have been operating only with 2 or 3 people, but now there are people, they've actually grown their businesses to about 20 people.
Wow.
Right, within a period of, I would say, 20. There are a lot of case studies like that.
So that's a lot of growth.
That's a lot of growth for them as well. And they keep on producing for us exclusively for Finesse certain products, and then what we do is we buy from them, we bring it to our factories, we do the final touches, and then we make it available to our consumers. So this model, I think, has helped us to expand as well as help these people
And
to
empowering
expand
them.
and empower them as well. So we have workshops at times with our designers to really show them how they should be improving on their production, how they should be looking at designs that are done internationally, how they could replicate certain things locally. So the talent that we can't now as a business, it's about at times you are not able to harness and get the best talent out there to work within your factories. But they are outsiders to a certain extent. Outsiders as in they are out from our main business, but still they have the skill and the talent, and we are able to retain them as a business as well as help them. So it's actually fulfilling those two main objectives, and it gives you a lot of satisfaction at the end of the day, because if not, they would probably remain at the same place for the next 20 years or so.
So apart from giving back and having made a positive impact on many, as an entrepreneur, what would you like to achieve in the future?
In terms of, again, coming back to what I told you, in terms of creating value, so we are also looking at how we can uplift the industry as a whole. So I want to champion certain causes for this industry. I see potential just like the apparel industry for the woodworking industry, if we really play it smart. certain components some foreign brands might need, we have the capability of manufacturing here locally and then supplying it to the international market, just like the apparel industry, which has really
Right.
grown and provided a lot of employment opportunities to people. But apart from the apparel industry, there's hardly any other industry that is competing and then producing tea rubber. Yes, you get,
Yeah.
but those are again traditional industries. But certain other industries, again, I see the potential. And then to get some foreign brands to come to Sri Lanka and then explore the opportunity of putting up manufacturing plants as another aim that I have. So that will help to provide more employment opportunities and also transfer skill and knowledge to the uh, industry and to Sri Lanka as a whole. And as an entrepreneur, I really like to sort of work with the government, hopefully in terms of certain policy decisions that they take. I've tried that. Again, that's something that really demotivates you at times. But hopefully, in the long run, if there is a favorable framework that's put out by the government to harness the potential of entrepreneurs, I would define myself as an entrepreneur more than a businessman, because I don't primarily look at making money as the end goal for my business. I have never looked at that. That is an outcome. Obviously you need money to help people, but if you are pursuing, if you are running behind money, you will miss a lot of things in between, right? So I like to sort of help the government transfer that skills and then transfer that knowledge, so it will help the country as a whole. So that probably would be my goal in the long run as an entrepreneur.
All right, and moving on to the final question. Like you said, developing the industry would in turn help grow and contribute to the economy. If the government would cooperate and assist and pay sufficient attention, do you think the industry has potential to grow?
Of course,
And in which way would you like to see support being provided?
Okay, so first step would be for the government to properly do a correct assessment in terms of what the market size is out there internationally, what sort of a potential we have, right, to supply furniture and wood-based products. When I say the woodworking industry, it's not only furniture. You get a lot of other sub areas as well. You get flooring related products, you get wooden toys, so
Yeah.
certain byproducts, say it can be like wooden lamps. So there are a lot of products that you can do by using wood apart from furniture. So overall, look at the industry globally, what sort of a potential there is currently and who is our competition. At times we can work with our competition in a way where we are a partner for them. Say for an example, China actually fulfills, I think, majority of the demand out there for furniture overall, and even countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand. Then you get the European countries with high-end brands that serve in the European market, and the USA and other countries, right? So first look at the market size and what sort of opportunities are out there, and then work on a plan for Sri Lanka. Okay, there is X amount of demand out there. Now, what can be done to basically fulfill that demand? And even now, cutting down trees, now that's another thing that I wanted to quickly elaborate on. There are now raw material for furniture industry is timber, but if you ask a lot of businesses and even small timers how many trees they consume per month to manufacture their furniture, they will not know, right? They don't know because they haven't really assessed that. And with climate change, you know, a lot of things ongoing, and people anyway in Sri Lanka, we have this issue of people cutting down trees for no reason at times, for settlements and all that. Furniture industry actually hasn't suffered that fate, because then, I mean, cutting down reservations of forestry for furniture manufacturing to get timber is not a major concern. This has been ongoing, and the impact the furniture industry has towards climate change is very minimal, right?
That's interesting to know,
Yeah.
because I actually thought it was the other way around.
No, so most of the trees that comes to
Because I think many have the impression that
yeah.
the furniture industry is one of the reasons as to why there's a lot of
No,
deforestation.
not really. That's why I told you, like, the amount of trees that's been consumed by the furniture industry is very low compared to the overall deforestation that's going on in the country. The government should put down a condition. Now, if you take countries like Sweden, you take European countries, they have reservations, they have areas that's been designated to cut wood for the furniture industry. In Sri Lanka, we don't have that. So there can be ad hoc places where people are cutting down and it might be contributing to a certain extent. But the amount of timber, the amount of logs that comes to Moratu is very small compared to the overall deforestation that's going on. At times, the trees that are being cut down, you can't use them as raw materials for the furniture industry. There are only, like, you can use mahogany timber, you can use teak timber. So those are the two types of timber that's being used mainly. Like 80% of the furniture that's manufactured are being done using those two types of timber. So these are just two types of trees, whereas you get like hundreds of different varieties of trees in a forest. So people cut down trees for no reason. If they cut it down for the right reason, and if they actually use it to manufacture furniture, then we have a count. So my thing is, we need to really have a count, and then along with that, we as a business, I think I've spoken this number of times with certain authorities. Say, for an example, now if you ask me, I know exactly how many trees that we are consuming per month for our manufacturing, right? And we are willing to double it in terms of plantation, right? We are willing to either contribute financially or even plant the trees. So that way we are really helping and giving back to the nature. We are giving it back. Say, if we are using 50 mahogany trees as timber in our manufacturing, we are willing to, give aid or give back 100 or whatever the species that the government needs to ensure the biodiversity is maintained.
Right.
That's very important. You need to really understand the whole concept. It's not about you cutting 50 trees and just planting 50 random trees. You need to understand what sort of biodiversity, what sort of trees would really help to conserve and then, help in all that, right? So we are willing to do that. Having people even within Moratuwa, there is still no proper place for an average carpenter to go and learn the skill, like learn the trade. Apart from putting together a chair, there are a lot of other things that you need to consider. The design, the size, and how to market it, how to grow it, what sort of machinery would help them. They don't have a clue. A lot of people don't have a clue, simply because there is not enough resources, there is not enough places for you to learn all that, right? So these sort of things, I think the government should really look at, and then uplifting. If we are strong internally, if we are strong with our policies, and if we are strong with the execution, and if we are strong in uplifting the standards of our people, definitely we can open up foreign markets, because that's something that they are going to look at.
All right. Thank you for this conversation. It was really interesting for me as well, because I personally learned so much about the wood-based industry. All the best. And thank you once again for being a part of this conversation. I do hope all of you enjoyed watching this conversation. Stay safe and take care. And do stay tuned for the next episode.